Hi, my name is Christina and I'm your librarian here at Christina's Bookshelf, and today I'm bringing you something kind of different from my norm. What I'm bringing you is I'm going to talk a little bit about a book that has been out since 2015. I found this author kind of by chance. I was writing reviews for queer-centric books, and I came up with this idea that I wanted to do this spotlight on new authors that were just debuting their books in the LGBT community. So I reached out and said, hey, who's new? And Tal Bauer responded and said, I'm new and here's this book. And I said, excellent. The book is Enemies of the State. Like I said, it's been out since 2015. And when I read it, it just completely blew my mind. It's this great political thriller that I did not write any review notes about, because I knew once I started to sit down and write, I'd be like, I want to talk about this and I want to talk about this. And oh my God, you guys are gonna love this. I'm gonna talk about this and this. And it would end up being, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here and read you the whole book, because that's how amazing I think this is. When I was writing reviews, I said that this would easily be in my top 10 for 2015. I'm gonna stick with that it is within my top 10 of 2015 books that came out. What I'm going to add to that is that I believe the Executive Office series be in my top 20 list for all-time favorite series. I mean, you're including this with like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and The Mortal Instrument and Karen Slaughter's Will Trent series and the In Death series and some other major publishers and then some other small publishers and independents. But this series is going to be in my top 20 favorite of all time. And you're saying, Christina, what's it about? Okay, if you haven't read it, here's a little bit of what it's about. You have Special Agent Ethan Reichenbach, who is the head for the Secret Service. And at the very beginning, we have President-elect Jack Spears, not even fully President of the United States yet. And Ethan already concedes to breaking a rule with the President-elect. And Ethan is openly gay, and Jack has been married to a wonderful woman who died in war. As time goes by and things happen, we realize that Jack's not your normal everyday president of the United States. He's really kind of laid back, but in the years after his wife died, he really didn't have a personal life. So when he comes to the White House, he really doesn't have this connection that he needs, that most presidents have, at least with somebody else. Ethan kind of steps up to the plate in that sense and breaks even more rules to make Jack a little bit more comfortable. And in this, things happen and feelings are made and things are conveyed. And my heart just was broken and devastated at one point that I cried so hard when this event happened. Like, I still tear up just thinking about it. The love story that happens in this is absolutely phenomenal. And it takes every feeling that you could possibly ever feel, and it just magnifies it, because while this is going on, and this is not even the main focal point. As I said earlier, Enemies of the State is kind of a political thriller, so the romance is underneath everything that's going on. And what we have are obviously what we have today in the real world. We have countries fighting other countries and invasions happening. But the whole thing about this is that there is a very unique group of individuals that are kind of plotting world domination. And what they want to do is just kind of take out anything that's going to get in their way. And I mean anything. We have Jack and Ethan. We have this unique look on this cell of individuals that just want to take out and control everything. Then we get insights into being president of the United States and what that entails, just the links and the emotional and mental stamina that one has to be president of the United States, let alone, you know, you have Jack, who's kind of lonely, a widower, needs some companionship, and then he also has to take on and be the president of the United States of America. Along with writing the review for queer-centric books, I also did an interview with Tal, and one of my questions was, what made you do the whole gay for you situation between Ethan and Jack? And Tal said, there's no gay for you. It's just Jack going, oh, I'm bi. And I thought that was the best thing ever is no, it's not just I'm gay for Ethan, it's I'm figuring myself out now and I'm actually bisexual and I'm attracted to Ethan as well as I was attracted to my beautiful wife. And that just makes this whole story, I think in my mind, that much better. As president of the United States, he reconciled kind of who he was. So for anybody, anywhere, at any time, no matter what your job is, no matter where you stand, you have that opportunity to reconcile yourself. That is amazing. That right there is fantastic. And if you don't seize that opportunity and you're saying, Christina, this is fiction, so make it your reality. That's what books are for. In the past year, I've had the opportunity to befriend and talk to and get to know who is Tal Bauer. And Tal Bauer is one of the most beautiful souls I have ever met in my entire existence. And I'm honored, thank you so much, and humbled by the fact that Tal and 9 Star Press have put so much faith in me to bring you what I'm about to bring you. What I'm about to bring you and read to you is the exclusive excerpt that I myself have. Only a few people have read it. No other blog reviewer out there has it at the moment, so I am bringing this to you courtesy of Tal Bauer and 9 Star Press. So once again, I want to say thank you for the faith that you have in me, and let me pull myself together and I will read this for all of you. Ariel, you are about to meet the mystery man. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good. Without further ado, I bring you an excerpt from Enemy of My Enemy by Tal Bauer. 30 minutes until Sergei's arrival. Jack clapped his hands together. Let's get this dinner started. A state dinner didn't begin with the evening dinner. The official beginning was the motorcade of the visiting head of state arriving at the north entrance, and the formal ceremony greeting his arrival. The Marine band played, and the press snapped photos as Jack and Sergei warmly embraced, grasping hands and then pulling each other in for a backslapping hug. Ethan was formally introduced to Sergei after that. He'd never actually met the man, just eyeball fucked him in Prague when he thought he was a threat to Jack, and then listened to his voice on the phone for months after. He stiffly held out his hand with a tight smile. Sergei pulled him in for a hug too. A Marine Corps color guard greeted Sergei outside the White House, holding both the American and Russian flags, while the president's own band played a zippy Russian classic. Sergei beamed and mimed conducting the band while Jack laughed. The almost frigid spring weather was unseasonably gloomy, and dreary light made the north lawn seem sodden, almost desolate. Patches of snow had melted away, and winter-dormant limp grass poked through the patches. Bare tree branches scratched over the grounds, almost skeletally frail. It was not the stunning backdrop to a state dinner that would glisten the magazine spread. Jack led Sergei and his small entourage up to the residence and to the yellow room overlooking the Truman balcony. Hors d'oeuvres and champagne flowed, and a select group of Jack's invitees to the state dinner mingled with the Russian delegation. Slipping out of the yellow room and to the hallway of the residence, Jack met Sergei in private, Ethan at his side. We had your luggage brought up through the basement. You're sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom. Jack winked. World leaders never stayed in the residence anymore, not for over 100 years. They stayed down the street at the Blair House. Scott had a mild heart attack when Jack told him of his intentions to have Sergei stay with them in the residence, and he turned to Ethan, slack-jawed, as if Ethan could talk sense into his lover. Ethan just shrugged and grinned. Sergei, who on a good day was lean and pale, seemed to have aged since Ethan had seen him in Prague the year before. His skin was almost sallow, his cheeks hollowed out, and dark bags seemed permanently etched beneath his eyes. But he smiled at Jack's words, and his whole face lit up. Excellent, Jack. Thank you. This will be fun, no? We will drink vodka all night long. I have 3 bottles in my suitcase. Jack boggled, searching for something to say. Sergei laughed. A joke. A joke. But I have a question for you. Might I ask, you two arrange a second bedroom? I have my senior aide with me, and I would like for him to stay close. Sergei gestured to a young 30-something man with blonde hair and ice blue eyes who had followed him from the yellow room and stayed at a polite distance, but was obviously watching them. He stood tall, with a military bearing, and his dark suit fit him like a second skin. Please, meet Sasha Andreev, my new senior aide. Sasha seemed incredibly uncomfortable shaking Jack and Ethan's hands, almost painfully shy in the face of the President of the United States. And he stepped back, shadowing Sergei's shoulder as soon as the introduction was complete. Ethan shared a look at Scott, also hovering feet away, over Jack's shoulder, and Daniel's, over Ethan's. Sasha moved like a bodyguard, like a man dedicated to Sergei and not an officious aide. Scott's pulse leaped at his throat, and Ethan could practically see his stomach curdle. Another potential, though admittedly unlikely, threat to observe. He smothered his grin with a sip of his wine. Some days, he was glad he wasn't in the Secret Service any longer. Of course we can set up a second bedroom. The Queen's room is right across the hall. Does that work for you both? Jack raised his eyebrows and waited. Sergei snapped a joke to Sasha in fast, slow Russian, and Sasha finally managed to laugh. He ducked his head and nodded. Da, yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Sergei squeezed his shoulder once and smiled at the younger man. Ethan shared a long look with Jack and took another sip of his wine. Jack got the signal that everything was ready downstairs. He officially, and with his characteristic fanfare, asked Sergei to join him for dinner. The guests upstairs headed down a separate way while Jack, Ethan, and Sergei waited at the top of the grand staircase. Jack took Ethan's hand and laced their fingers together, squeezing before he looped his arm through Ethan's. They both heard Sergei's deep, "Aww," and his phone snap a picture behind them. When Hail to the Chief played, Ethan kissed Jack on the lips before they took their first steps together down the stairs, arm in arm. Sergei followed behind, single. He'd left both his ex-wives back in Russia. Thunderous applause nearly drowned out the music. At the base, all three stopped and listened while both the American and Russian national anthems played. Jack and Ethan placed their hands over their hearts for the national anthem, and when Jack took a deep, steadying breath in the middle of the song, Ethan rested his hand on the small of Jack's back. The last time the national anthem had played live for Jack was at Ethan's funeral in Arlington. Sergei looked proud yet sad when the Russian anthem played. The receiving line, as always, took forever, and Scott, Daniels, and their details were like cats on steroids, obsessively watching and checking everyone who approached Ethan, Jack, and Sergei. Relax, Ethan breathed into Scott's ear. You've got your constipated face on. Scott sent him a murderous scowl and coughed into his fist, trying to smother his laughter. Fuck you, he whispered back. Every guest got a photo with the trio, and at the end, Sergei stepped between Jack and Ethan and wrapped his arms around their shoulders and beamed into the camera. Jack laughed. Ethan looked shocked, and the photographer instantly said he had the front page picture for the morning news. The actual dinner was elegant and understated. Sergei got a kick out of reading about each of the different sets of china and the tables, and Ethan sent Barbara and Brandt a double thumbs up. Sergei made small talk with Elizabeth, wit and verbal repartee bouncing back and forth, everything from pop culture to international politics being pilloried. Jack and Ethan shared bites from each other's plates and traded sips of wine. Sasha sat silently across from Sergei and watched his president like a hawk. Halfway through the dinner, Ethan nudged Jack to his feet, and they'd circled the room, personally greeting and thanking 30 of the guests they had invited from their cards of support and congratulations. They posed for pictures and for selfies and came back to find Sergei reporting their antics with a smile. Barbara hired a small swing blues band, and everyone moved to the East Room for dancing and more wine and champagne. Jack's hands lingered on Ethan, and his smile was a little broader, his eyes a little brighter. Warmth raced under Ethan's skin, a gentle blurring of the world at the edges. He and Jack led the first dance, swaying together and laughing as the cameras flashed. You did amazing, Jack said, beaming as Ethan pulled him close after a spin. This is perfect. He shrugged. All part of my job. He couldn't hold in his grin as Jack threw his head back and laughed out loud. Not too bad, though, huh? He spun Jack again, pulling him close for a kiss after. Surrounding them, the guests were smiling wide, clapping, and a radiant joy hung in the air. For the first time, being out in public with Jack felt good. Really good. Like he wasn't screwing everything up for Jack and the world was really on their side. Jack pressed his palm to Ethan's cheek. Not bad at all, love. They took a break and Ethan snagged 2 flutes of champagne from a passing waiter. Jack made eyes at him as he sipped his, smoldering looks that went straight to Ethan's cock. They had a few hours left in the evening, but no one would miss them if they snuck out for a quickie, would they? Scott would no doubt shit a gold-plated brick emblazoned with the presidential seal. It would be worth it. He was just about to grab Jack's hand and tug him off when Sergei appeared, slapping both of their backs and pulling them into another big hug. My friends! Ethan bobbled his champagne, but Jack was much smoother. He grabbed Sergei back with a smile. Are you having fun? This is too much fun, Sergei said, pointing at Jack. Too much fun for Americans like you. Only Russians can have this much fun. Jack rolled his eyes, laughing, and Ethan spotted Sasha hanging behind Sergei. He smiled at the younger Russian. Sasha looked like he was ready to bolt, cataloging exit and escape paths through the crowd. Mr. President. Sergei made a show of straightening and adjusting his bow tie he held at one hand. May I have this dance? He winked at Jack. Jack's jaw dropped. Do you have any idea what the press will do with that? He laughed helplessly, shaking his head. It will be fantastic. Sergei beckoned Jack again. Around them, people had started to notice and were watching with wide eyes. We can take turns leading, he said, trying to encourage Jack. Jack looked at Ethan. Ethan looked back at him. Go for it, he said. Give them something to really talk about. Sergei beamed at Ethan and Jack took his hand. I don't trust you, Sergei, Jack chuckled. What, me? Sergei feigned shock and outrage, leading Jack to the dance floor. We are allies, partners. What is not to trust? He stopped dead center on the dance floor and took Jack politely into his arms, one hand on Jack's hip and the other gently holding Jack's hand aloft. Everyone stopped. Everyone stared. Sergei stepped off first, leading Jack on a fun, easy swing dance while the band played. Cameras flashed and cell phones streamed the dance live to the internet. Ethan did slide over to Sasha, standing stock still with his arms locked behind his back, his eyes tracking Sergei's every movement. Even though he was Russian and they were a stoic, hard people, Ethan had never actually seen someone look quite so dour. He glanced back at Sergei and Jack. Sergei had stopped and changed position, letting Jack take the lead. Jack's hand was on Sergei's hip and he steered Sergei back across the dance floor, laughing at something the Russian president had said. I know what it's like, he said under his breath. Sasha slowly turned, staring Ethan down. Ethan nodded to Jack and Sergei. I can tell how you look at him. It's how I used to look at Jack. Before. Sasha whipped away, scowling. He tried again. I don't remember you from the delegation last year. Sergei said you were new. How did you join his team? Silence. Sighing, Ethan flagged down a waiter and grabbed another 2 flutes of champagne as Jack and Sergei continued to dance. Sergei spun Jack as bulbs flashed. Sasha's jaw clenched. Ethan passed him a glass. Sasha played with the stem, rolling the crystal between his fingers before draining half the flute in a large swallow. I was fighter pilot, he grunted. President Puchkov? Sasha's eyes narrowed. He saved my life, he finally said. There was more to that story, like all Russian stories. Ethan waited. This, Sasha said, waving one hand around the room, is very different from what I used to do. I'm uncertain what to do for him. He glanced sidelong at Ethan. How to make him proud? I think you're well on your way, Ethan spoke carefully. Fighter pilot, now a senior aide, one he wants to keep close. Sasha's scowl deepened. The song ended and Ethan saw Sergei and Jack searching them out in the crowd. Sergei spotted Sasha first, and Ethan watched his face brighten and a smile break over his narrow, hawk-like features. He already sees you. That's something. He didn't want to give Sasha false hope, though. How many weeks had he agonized over Jack, trying to decipher smiles and secret looks in their growing friendship? I know how it feels, he finally repeated. I really didn't think this would ever happen to me. And then Sergei and Jack were back, both beaming, and Sergei nodded once to Sasha before turning to Jack, replaying the dance they just shared and laughing at the shocked and befuddled gazes from the crowd. Ethan watched Sasha's eyes linger on Sergei and his fingers restlessly play with his half-full champagne flute for the rest of the night. So what do you think? Are you full of awe moments and this is bliss? Or are you following my line of thought and you're very skeptical and leery about how this is going to move forward and exactly what does Tal have in store for us? Because I see this and I think, oh, look at how happy they are. This isn't gonna last, is it? But I want it to. I want it to with every fiber of my being to have Ethan and Jack together forever. Because if Jack has to hear that song played over Ethan's casket one more time, Tal Bauer, nothing is going to save you. Enemies of the State is out now. I will leave the link to 9 Star Press down below. If you haven't made yourself a profile, go there and buy the book from 9 Star Press. It is also out in print. So, hello! Go get your copy. It's an amazing story. If you are a true one-clicker and you want to do that, I will also leave the Amazon link down below for you as well. I understand, no judgment. If you have liked what you've seen here, I'm going to ask that you give my YouTube video a like and leave me a comment. Let's talk about what we think is going to happen in Enemy of My Enemy. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would love to be one of those people that says, look for a review every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But as we know, books are not released on those days, and I also live kind of a spontaneous life, and that is the magic of the subscribe button. If you like me and think that chick is really awesome, and you'd like to follow me around, I will also leave my Facebook page and my Twitter. If you have a book or an arc you'd like me to read, I will also leave with my email address down below. Enemies of the State by Tal Bauer. 5 freaking fantastic, glorious, almighty, praise Jesus stars. I'm so ready for Enemy of My Enemy. I am so ready to just sit down and devour more of Jack and Ethan. More of President Puchkov and this wonderful Sasha Andreev. And some characters from the past. Are we going to have Cooper again? What about the prince? And what's going to happen? Oh my gosh, where it left off with Enemies of the State. What is going on? I need to know. Hurry up. Bye.